Hello there. It looks like the concept of a temporary universal basic income is coming into vogue, but will the Tories go for it? Firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the rear by giving this video a big fat like. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check my YouTube channel daily. For those that don't know, a universal basic income would be a set amount of money plonked into the bank account of every citizen every month, regardless of means. And to put this into context, without bothering how the government would get the money, how much easier would you sleep at night if you knew that every month, without fail, an index-linked £1,000 was going to appear in your bank account? And now think about the ongoing situation. Put yourself in the shoes of all those contractors, the self-employed, and those on 0 hours contracts. Would you feel more secure with a citizen's income right now? I would say yes. Now, I've talked about this a couple of times over the past few days, and it seems that there is growing support amongst the political classes to put such a scheme in place. And The Independent reports that over 170 members of the House of Commons and the House of Lords are now calling for every adult to get a flat, unconditional sum of money every week while the current situation persists. In a letter to the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, these parliamentarians say that such a plan would be practical and not ideological, and that our economy has seen a fundamental shift since 2008. The number of self-employed has risen from 3.25 million to more than 5 million people. Universal basic income would protect self-employed workers and those in precarious employment. It goes on to say, the app-based driver is not paid when there is no work, nor is the 0 hours warehouse worker, the children's entertainer, or the agency-supplied care worker. Many people do not have employers incentivised by the government to keep paying them. A universal basic income would be far more effective than subsidising company payroll. And that is a very valid point. These are not normal times. Those who are suffering from a lack of income cannot be expected to get on their bikes and go and find another source of income right now. Even the harshest and most hard-hearted of libertarians and Tory free marketeers must understand that. I'm definitely not a lefty, but I do recognise that now is the time for the state to step in with a determined vigour to do more than just back business. So I suddenly find myself on the same platform on this particular issue as John McDonnell, Rebecca Long-Bailey and Ian Blackford. But this is a unique Black Swan event. And I have to say that with regard to universal citizens' income, this is the first time I've seen the opposition do its job properly. But at present, all we've seen from government are moves to shore up business and talk of using the tax system to keep the money moving into the hands of its employees. I suppose they think that the money will then, by some method or other, trickle down through the wider economy to the self-employed, etc., as the money is spent. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. You only have to walk into any supermarket in the land to understand exactly how people will be spending any money they have at the moment. And that's especially true of those who think they might run out of money very shortly, through no fault of their own. There will already be a growing number of people dreading those end-of-month bills, including the rent or mortgage, and all those direct debits for things like the utilities, the insurance and tax for the car, etc., and not because they are spendthrift, but because of the prevailing economic conditions. The Tory government now needs to lift its eyes from doing its normal support business and everything will be okay sort of thing and start directly supporting people at the pointy end. As the letter from MPs and Lords said, this is not an ideological thing. This is a practical measure that will keep the wheels of the nation turning. It's either that or something like handing out public sector non-jobs to all comers for whatever hours they want. Otherwise, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of totally blameless people will have their lives financially ruined in the next couple of months. The lessons from the credit crunch in 2008 must be learned, when the banks got the bailouts and the people got the repossessions and the eventual bill. This cannot be repeated. So bring on the temporary universal basic income and do it quick. It may be the only real way of ensuring the country can stay united and rebound once this is all over. Moving on, I pointed out yesterday that Boris Johnson had introduced a new bill to Parliament that, if it becomes law, will give this government powers the like of which has not been seen since the Second World War. Now, many people over the last few days and weeks have been wailing that the government hasn't done enough in certain areas to address the root cause of this ongoing problem. They must do this immediately and they must do that right away, they constantly wail. But the truth is that some of those things require that Parliament gives them the statute power to actually do them. And now, when the government puts forward a bill that will give it those exact powers, many of the same people calling for action are now wailing that the government will have too much power. And I came down on the government side once I saw a tweet from Gina Miller. Enough of that, that's not polite. Yes, a tweet from Ms. Miller calling it into question. And as many people seem to be ignoring government advice at the moment, then maybe the time has come to be a bit more draconian. As Michael Deacon says in The Telegraph, Boris Johnson may not want to be draconian, but surely now it's time to get tough. Anyway, I've read the bill, and as I intimated at yesterday, it makes for sobering reading. But it's giving the government power to mobilise retired health professionals. It's giving government powers to control individuals, groups, events, and even shut down the ports if needed. It's loosening the red tape where necessary and tightening it where it needs to. It also has a 2-year time frame, but importantly, as far as I can make out, where measures contained within it are no longer needed, they must be dropped. And that is where the opposition, and we the citizens, must step in, because we cannot let a government hang on to any power at all for a politically rainy day, if that power is not needed. Especially when that government is considering withdrawing from the European Convention on Human Rights and replacing it with a UK Bill of Rights by the end of the year as part of Brexit. We need to keep our beady eye on them. Interestingly, Civitas has issued a report today called Rebalancing the British Constitution, the Future for Human Rights Law, which argues for the UK to leave the ECHR and reform the UK Supreme Court to ensure parliamentary supremacy going forwards. I might do a vid on that at a later date. And in other news, some of the wealthier of the inhabitants of London are heading to rural bolt holes and their second and third homes to remove themselves from the dangers of the outside world. Clear disregard towards the well-being of locals is being shown by the self-entitled, who have priced out those locals from the housing markets. And Brecon Beacons, Lake District and Cornwall will be awash with the sound of hereditary exaggerated speech impediments and the smell of mattress money for the next few weeks. Yes, expect to see the look of confusion upon the faces of the entitled as they attempt to impose their metropolitan values upon the intergenerational farmers and locals, only to be met with a well-aimed welly between the dangly bits. The introduction of yoga and vegan stalls to a farmer's market may go down okay in the now intolerably gentrified Hay-on-Wye, but it won't work in Wilth Wells. But I wouldn't expect they will last long there though, seeing as 21st century broadband speeds and mobile connections in rural areas are mostly 30 years behind Marconi's musings. And another little snippet you might have missed is that Green Party MP Caroline Lucas has been found to have breached House of Commons rules in the run-up to the 29 general election by offering tours of Parliament in exchange for money, reports the Argus. The report from the Standards Commissioner said, "I believe it inappropriate for her to be touting for donations using the facilities of the House of Commons as an inducement. This is also an unfair advantage over other election candidates." The Green Party MP has apologised, and the Commissioner called that an appropriate outcome. Now I wonder how the mainstream press would have reacted had that been a Tory MP. I'll leave you to decide that one. And finally, happy birthday to Dame Vera Lynn, who was born during the First World War and is now 103 years old today. Please wish her well. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.